My name is Margaret Raffo, and I'm interviewing Ms. Clark on April 14th, 2017. I know that your family has been valuable and enriching part of our community for generations. Can you tell me about how all that began?
That began way back in 1843 when Alfred Corning Clark came here, and then Edward went on to marry Caroline Jordan, but it was in the early 1840s, so it was ages ago. And by 1870, the family had realized, and they had written quite a fair amount about it, about how beautiful Cooperstown was, and how special it was, and how it needed to be preserved. And that is really in the early 1870s when my family first started to write about, in their letters, about preservation and conservation up here. And sometimes when I talk, I read a quote from Edward Clark in the late 1860s about how beautiful Cooperstown was and what a special place it was to live, and how it needed to be preserved so that other people could enjoy Lake Otsego and the shores of Lake Otsego and the beautiful land that went up around it. So, I don't know, 1860 sounds like a long time ago to me, so I think we've been interested in conservation and preservation forever, it seems like.
What are some ways you help protect the lake?
Well, first of all, now we're going back to 1860s, 1870s again. My family started buying land around the lake as it became available, because they realized that that was the key to conservation efforts and preservation efforts here in Cooperstown. And so we do our best, here we are in 2017, to preserve the land that we have around the lake and do the best things that we can find to do with it. Like take care of the forests that have grown up, and we give a lot of support to the biological field station when they're talking about stuff that's growing in the lake that might be good, might be bad. What can we do to help? So every day we try to be the best stewards we can and do the right thing when it comes to our beautiful lake.
How do you think Otsego Lake impacts the community as a whole?
I may be very biased on this, but I don't think Cooperstown would be what it is for all of us to live in if we weren't on the lake. Because I think every single one of us loves the lake. Do you love the lake?
Mm-hmm.
Do you swim in the lake and go on a boat on the lake?
I swim in 3 Mile Pond.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's part of all of our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It'd be different if we were surrounded by farmland, I think.
I know your Clark Foundation does important work for our local students. Thank you so much for that. Can you talk about the Clark Scholarships a bit?
We're very proud of the Clark Scholarships. My grandfather started that in the early 1960s, and we have put a tremendous amount of people through school with those scholarships since then. We give away probably anywhere from 900 to 975 scholarships a year. And I think it makes a big difference in people's lives. And so that's why it's so important to us. Because I think this is a great school system. And I think that the surrounding school systems that we give scholarships are also very good, but I think my grandfather was right when he thought that to attract the people that Cooperstown needs to be here, whether at the hospital or the museums or part of the community serving on the village council, whatever, you have to have a good school system for families to be able to take advantage of. And he always believed in that, which is why we support the schools a lot and why we believe in the scholarships. And I'm not so sure that it's not the caliber of the school, the caliber of the teachers, the caliber of all of you who go there, that doesn't make our scholarship program a huge success, because everybody in the school is really worthy and works really hard. And only if you work hard and have worthy grades and want to do something with your life and go to college, that's why you get the scholarship. And that's why we have 900 plus a year, which we love.
That's amazing.
100 what?
Scholarships to go to college. It seems like a long way away, doesn't it?
How do you decide what organizations to support?
That's a difficult question, because there are an awful lot of organizations up here that are very worth supporting. And what we try to do is support the ones that maybe aren't as well supported by the community, but are really worth it and are making a big difference in how the community is and how it is to live here. And I think you know too, people look at organizations in very different ways, and sometimes it takes a while for an organization to be really appreciated by the community, and that's where we like to step in and keep it going until the community can sort of take over and start supporting it and giving it some money, helping it.
How does helping Cooperstown make you feel?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think it's because, I don't know, we've been here since 1843. And I don't know, Cooperstown is in my soul, it's in my DNA. It's sort of part of who I am. So I love it.
How has Cooperstown changed over the time you've been here?
I think Cooperstown has changed, but I think the changes have been good changes. I think we've kept up with the times, so to speak. We have an awful lot of tourists, visitors all through the year, especially during the summer. And what's important is that we stay relevant, because we need them. We need the tourists to come. And we need to stay relevant. And I think that we have done that by changing the way we look at exhibitions at the Farmers Museum and Fenimore House, changing all the time how we deal with baseball fans that come to the Hall of Fame. Because, the history of baseball changes. Every time they play a game, it changes. And I think the village has done a good job in being a special village. There's no McDonald's, there's no Burger King, there's no fast foods. And so I think it makes us special, because we're not like every other town in America. And back to the question you asked about the lake, I think the lake makes it a really special place for people to come.
What is your favorite place in the village of Cooperstown?
In the village or on the lake?
In the village.
Uh-oh. I don't know. Because I've never really thought about having a favorite place, because I love Cooperstown and I love so many parts of it. But that's a really tough question. So let me think about it for a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to move on?
Yeah, we'll go back to that.
What is your favorite place in the rural part of Cooperstown?
I think my favorite place is being on the lake. And I have a camp about 4 miles up the lake that's very private. It's okay. It doesn't bother me.
Okay, all right.
If it bothers, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
And I think it's a nice, quiet, secluded camp, and obviously right on the lake and right there. And I think that's my favorite place. If it's not in the village.
How has baseball ever affected your experiences in this community?
You know, I think that being chairman of the Hall of Fame and living here, and baseball has really given me some incredible experiences in this village. I've welcomed presidents of the United States to the Hall of Fame. I've welcomed arguably some of the biggest sports stars that America has in our Hall of Fame members. And I've been able to be with them and introduce them to Cooperstown and introduce them to the museum. And I've just met some incredible people through baseball.
How do you think having the Baseball Hall of Fame affects the whole community?
I think it gives the community a central focus point, because I think the community needs the visitors that come here. And visitors come because of the opera, they come because of the museums, they come because of all of it put together in a package. They can stay at the Otesaga, they can stay at the hotels and motels on the lake, they can experience that. We're back to the lake again. But I think that the Hall of Fame gives a central drawing point. And I know there are people that come here that only go to the Hall of Fame, but I can't tell you what our guides and staff tell us about what visitors say. They come for the Hall of Fame and they don't know that there's anything else here. And a lot of them, a huge majority of them, of that group, leave saying, oh my God, we had no idea that there was so much here. And, you know, we have a reservation in Lake George tonight, so we can't stay, but we're coming back. And I think the Hall of Fame just serves as that central drawing point to bring people here initially and get them hooked on coming to Cooperstown. And, you know, the dads walk out of the Hall of Fame and say, oh my God, I never knew you had such a golf course. And moms are saying, oh, the opera, and, you know, oh, there's a Wyeth exhibit this summer at Fenimore Art Museum. It really, without that, I don't think people would come here and discover all the other fantastic things that we have here.
Did you ever have an ironic event in this community?
That's another hard question. I don't know. Let me think about that for a bit too. It's a great question.
Have any of your hobbies or things you do for fun been supported or enriched by being in Cooperstown?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I scull, I row a single shell, and being able to do it on this lake at 6:30 in the morning when it's quiet and flat and it's a glimmer glass and there's nobody else out there except maybe some eagles and some herons. It's just beautiful. So that's been terrific, and I love to play golf. Obviously we have a great golf course. And I grew up sailing here. So I love being on the water, especially lake water. And so being in Cooperstown has really enhanced that, and being able to play golf on this great golf course.
When you were younger, did you ever have, what is your favorite story from when you were younger and living here, if you did?
I used to have I don't know if I have a favorite story, but I have wonderful memories of being, summers here, and my mother saying, no, you can't go hang out with your friends. You have to work at least half a day doing something. And starting when I was about 7, I always had something to do. And whether it was learning to milk cows or feeding baby orphans their bottle of milk 4 times a day. When I never sort of outgrew that, but when I was able to do something else, when I was 13, I was in the basement of Fenimore House cataloging milk glass. And a little tiny white tag, and the book would say that it was number 100-72A. And so I'd get my tag and I'd write it and I'd put it on the milk glass. And what's really scary is that there's still tags up there that I wrote on some of these objects. It's really scary. And then when I was 14, I worked as a guide and took the admission money and whatever for the Carriage Museum. That was where Bassett business offices are now on Elk Street. And I don't know, I just had great summers, but I was never allowed to hang out with my friends until about 12 or 12:30. Lunch, that was it. Okay, now I could go sail or I could play tennis or whatever. And I remember we all used to meet. Our moms used to drop us off at the Fenimore, what's now not Fenimore, it used to be both actually, but Farmers Museum gift shop now, used to have the best snack bar. And we all used to go for milkshakes and hot dogs every single day. And then walk down the club driveway to try to round up some more friends to go get in trouble with and cause some mischief with.
As we are coming to the end of our time together, I have just 2 more questions. What words of wisdom or advice would you give to young people today?
I think that I'd say never give up on something you believe in. But as you do that, always do it with integrity and always do it with kindness.
Is there anything else that you would like us to know about your life growing up in this community?
I don't think so. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer the 2 questions. I don't think so. Not unless you have other questions or off the top of your head or whatever.
I noticed that there are a few horses around your office. Do you really like horses?
I really like horses.
I do too. I do a lot.
Yeah, I grew up with horses. And when I was 4 years old, my parents had a white pony under the Christmas tree. Literally. Literally, I was 4 and I walked in and there was a little gray fox. And Gray Fox was a white gray pony that was that high, with the biggest red bow my mother had put on her forelock, and the biggest red bow on her tail.
Oh.
And that's when I started riding. And so I've ridden ever since, and I've ridden competitively for a lot of years. And now, unfortunately, I seem to be working so hard that I can't sort of fit it all in. So I gave up riding competitively, and now I have competitive horses that other people compete, and I ride them at home. which is fun. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure there. But yeah, I've been to 4 Olympic Games with horses. Dressage, both 2 disciplines, dressage and show jumping. And 7, 8 world championships. And we have medals. We've had bad times and good times, but that's horses, right?
Yeah.
That's animals. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So yeah. And what do you ride?
Yes, I ride up in Fly Creek.
And do you ride English or Western?
I ride English.
English. Fun. And are you jumping?
Yes.
Right, Mom.
They have this little horse that he likes to take off right before and jump way over it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did that once and it felt like, because I was doing a bigger one, it felt like I was flying. Like I felt that feeling, where you're off the ground
Yeah.
completely.
Did you love it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think once you have horses in your blood, it's tough to... Sorry, Mom.
No.
It's sorry to... It's very hard to... What's your favorite sport?
What?
What's your favorite sport? What do you like to play?
Soccer.
That's
My
cool.
favorite animal is parakeet.
Yeah. Good. And do you ride every day or
No, once a week.
once a week?
Is that everything?
I think so.
Okay.
And I can't think of an ironic moment. And probably if I had to say my favorite place in the village, I would actually say it was the Hall of Fame. Just because I spend so much time in it, and I think you just really love something that you know so well, and having basically grown up on the steps with my grandfather, who's the chairman also, it probably has to be the Hall of Fame.
Thank you for coming to speak with me today. I'm sure many people will enjoy your stories.
I hope so. And tell me more about your project.
So, we are going to be, if it's okay with you, at the end we could take a picture of you and I to put on a trifold board, and we're going to upload the recording onto the computer and put a laptop for every recording by the trifold board, and it'll be presented at our school's museum night on April 12th.
Oh, good.
So people can come in and they can press play and just listen to the interview.
Good. Are you going to edit out our little side talk here?
I could do that if you wanted to.
Well, probably, because they're going to be really confused. Especially if you and I are talking about soccer.